Hello, my friends. This is Base Pages in full color. It is a hop that is held by Ginger's Corners. And below, I will have a link to the playlist so that you can go and watch everyone who is making a video. And thank you for Ginger for allowing me to participate. And this hop is about taking your color scraps of paper and making base pages that then later on, sometime in the next month or two or in November, when Ginger uses her base pages to make layouts, you make a layout. So for several days this month, it looks like every couple of days, we have a particular color of scrap paper to use to make base pages. And the one I'm shooting today, as you can see, is the color orange. So I have various scraps here of orange, and I have some smaller ones over to my side, and I am going to use them to make base pages. And my base pages usually start with white or black cardstock. So I'm going to select white, and I have here several, looks like several, some are cut into, some are not, so I might have to trim some of them up. But I have some, all of these are at least 12 inches long. And so I'm just going to kind of go through and see which one I would like to work with first. And I really like the happy color of this one. I see that as a nice bright summer layout. And so I'm going to set the other scraps kind of over here to the side and just kind of hold them. I'm trying to keep this in view. And so here I have orange, and I want an accent color behind it to give it a little bit more emphasis on the page. So I like this darker one, and I would probably put a strip at the top and at the bottom. And yes, this is just one strip of paper, but this is how I usually go ahead and do a page. And I could put a title up here, and I could put a cluster and a cluster and a cluster, and like journal down here. This doesn't look like much of a page, but I probably would spruce it up by putting a decorative border at the bottom, and that would be my first base page. And what I'll do is I'll glue these down, and then I'll come back and show you the finished layout. And so let's go ahead and get another piece of white cardstock, and let's look through our scraps again, and I'll pick out some papers I want to work with. And I have another big block of paper. I have this big block of paper. I kind of like this one. I'd have to trim it up a little bit. And I also like this big block of paper for like a fall layout. And I kind of like these two together. And so I think that's what I will do for this page. And we made, well, these designs can be rotated. And so, even if I put it together horizontally, I can also rotate it and do it vertically. So we can go ahead and set this one up to be vertical. And once again, I would put some on this side and some on the other side, and that would be a second page. And I probably would put a journaling block here and titles. And so it's not much of a page, but that's how I scrapbook. And to be honest, I struggle with base pages. I have only made a few, and they were black and white strips of paper all across the page, using up some scraps that I had. And with that, I was able to go ahead and make some pages, but those are the only ones I've ever been able to use. And so I signed up for this hop to challenge myself let's try to do a block design. So I have this big block of paper. And I think I have some smaller blocks over here. So let me pull them out to see how they are and what I can use here. And you'll see a lot of my scraps are solid cardstock. Here's some pattern. These are all solid. Got a lot of solid cardstock here. And I have a few pieces of pattern paper. And that's kind of what I have available. So let's see what this looks like. So as I was saying, or trying to tell you, my base page experience is very limited. I decided to do this challenge to challenge myself to see if they really will work. I know Ginger is sold on them and she does them so well. And my friend Melanie from A Creatively Crafted Life, she does a lot of base pages and she makes beautiful layouts from them and seems to, you know, have no problem finding photos and matching them up and doing them. I still struggle with the concept, so I guess we'll just have to see if I can make it work for me. Okay, I think I want another strip of paper here, and I'm wondering if this lighter color will work. It doesn't really go well with the background paper, so maybe I'll take that one out. I don't have a lot of other pattern paper besides what we saw earlier. I have this darker one. Let me see what we have here with this darker one. I have a very small piece of this darker one. I'm interested in that dark one. So let's see. That's the one we just saw a few minutes ago. Let's see what this will look like. That's a very small piece. And then I can also cut this piece and extend it to over here. So if you could picture just that without over there, there, and there. And that would be 3 layouts. And I had already previously designed some. So when I'm going to pause and when I come back, I will have them glued together. Hello, my friends. I am back to show you the results of putting together my base pages. And off camera, I just glued them down and I made a decorative border just to give the page a little bit more. Now, what I like to think about is, you know, I could put 2 photos here, or I could even put a third. So this is kind of how my mind works in order to be able to do a page. I think, okay, I can get 3 photos across the page. I like that. Or I could do 1 main photo with a cluster and a title, and I could put more paper. This is just the beginning of a page for me. I could put more paper, but you could put embellishments here, here, and here. You know, like right here, and you could put your journaling here and a title. You know, there's a lot of ways to work with this base page, and this is one that I use pretty consistently. The other thing about this one is I can rotate it, and I could even put 3 large photos going down, or 2 large photos going down. So for me, there's a lot that I can do with that base page. And this is the second base page, and I said, okay, we're going to do a vertical one, and you could picture a main photo here and the title either here or here. I mean, there's lots of places. Embellishing here, here, and here. There's a lot that I could still do with this. I could still do some mixed media down here or some stamping. I could also rotate this around so that most of the white right now is there, and I could put 3 photos down. And so I see a lot that I could do with that particular page, and that kind of helps me to know that these probably will work for me. They're not very exciting, they're not wow over the top, but they should work for me and what I do. On this one, I can see I could put a photo this way, or I could put 1 main photo this way, I could probably even get a couple of photos depending on how I wanted to do it, if they were larger size, because a lot of times I do use 4x6, but this one would also allow me to do a couple of 3x4 photos. Lots of room for embellishing, lots of room to even, like you said, I could stamp here, or I could do mixed media here and here to get rid of some of the white. The other thing I do with a lot of my photos is I put a border around them. Excuse me, not my photos, my layout. And so that is also a way that I can reduce some of that white space and get more color there. But I usually do that based on the photos. And the other day when I was starting to work on this process, I came up with a couple layouts that I did just to kind of see, okay, can I wrap my mind around this? And so this is one that I did with paper strips. And you can see that I inked them. I inked all the edges of the three that I did today. I used probably on this one, as well as the others, I either use a smoky gray or vintage photo. And I could see one large photo kind of sitting there in the center. Or you could rotate it so it's sitting here. Got to cover up that little teeny hole from that paper strip. So I just used various colored paper strips and put most of them vertically, put a set horizontally. So you see, you could have a main photo there, and that would look pretty good. I might cut this down a little bit so you see more of the paper behind it. But I also thought, okay, we can go ahead and put a couple of photos, 3x4 photos, kind of overlap them a little bit. And that's something that I tend to do, put them on an angle, overlap them a little bit. Lots of rooms for titles and embellishment. I probably wouldn't use this color yellow. I'm just using it as a, just to kind of talk about how I would use these. Okay, and another one I did was I had my Halloween strips, and actually this one is supposed to go this way. And I saw this idea on Pinterest, but you know as I do that on Pinterest a lot of times it doesn't go to a particular person's website, so I don't know who to give credit to. And I had a lot of my leftover orange, very small strips and some Halloween paper, and you can see I already put a border on this layout, and I already put my strip of 3x4 photos, or one could be a journaling card, or one could be a decorative card over here. And so you see I put these paper strips on a diagonal, and I kind of alternated them as I went across, and then this way I went the opposite direction. And so what I ended up with was, I see that as easily being a Halloween layout. It's a little different, but so now I have, that's one base page. It's a second base page. These ones I put together very quickly with you today. This is a third one, and you could of course rotate that. This one I did this way, but of course you could also, like we said, see it multiple directions. So that's a fourth one, and here is our fifth base page in the color orange. So link down below, you will also see others that are participating in the hop. So please go look at their videos and see how they do base pages, because theirs are very different than how I set mine up. So my friends, I hope you have a crafty week. Bye.